Good morning. Welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Stuart, Florida. Today is December 8th, 2024. I'm John Morn, and I'm your worship associate today. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, ethnicities, ages, and background. We are on YouTube. Hello, YouTubers. I'm waving at the screen. I guess that's kind of silly. To be put on our mailing list or to find out more information about us, go to our website, which is tcuuc.org. Note the email link to request our online newsletter. Please silence your cell phones so we don't get interrupted. We'd like to start off by welcoming visitors, and if you're a visitor and you feel comfortable, please come up to the microphone. Anyone? And I'd like to also give a warm welcome to Maggie Brown. Maggie is the wife of our guest minister, John Brown, and it's good to have you here for the first time I've seen you. Second time? Okay, very good. We have a few announcements. Beginning on January 12th, there will be a 20-minute meditation at 10 a.m. here prior to the Sunday service. Karen Olish and Ken Texera will alternate hosting that meditation. Please sign up in the narthex. That's the room out there, so we can judge the level of interest. We have a congregation book club, and we're wrapping up our current book this coming Wednesday on Zoom, and then we're going to start a new book on the January 8th. The new book is titled Better Living Through Birding by Christian Cooper, and he's the black gentleman who's bird watching in Central Park and was accused of assaulting a woman there who had her dog not on a leash. You remember that? Anyway, it looks very interesting. If you're interested, that's Wednesdays at 11 o'clock, and you can contact me. Just look at the newsletter, and you'll find out how to sign up for that. I wanted to also announce that Bill Falk is going to send Bob his sermon, which Bob will read on December 22nd. And it will be his Christmas gift to us. So we're looking forward to that. And also, we have coffee and cookies afterwards in the social hall across the way. There are additional announcements at the back of your newsletter, and so please take a look at those activities that go on in the church. So check those out. I would like to do a big thanks to the people who are helping with today's service. We have Jackie Robbins and Judy Majoris. Majoris. I always sure, who are often help out. And we have a special guest today, Alan Grunfeld, who is joining us. Thank you, Alan. Jackie tells me that you were enjoying a well-earned retirement. And I heard him practicing. We're in for a treat. Our greeter today is Kitty Rowell. Thank you, Kitty. And our ushers, and I want to thank our ushers, whoever those volunteers happen to be. We also want to thank our tech elf, Karina Poloni, who's in the back room here and told me I could start, and our tech support, Rachel Valentino. And we thank our hospitality team. Today, we have Shari Louise and Jackie Buckley helping out in the kitchen. And of course, we also want to welcome back Reverend John Brown, who's always a pleasure to have here. He'll be speaking to us from the pulpit today. John did his undergraduate work at Union College. He received his doctorate in religion from Claremont School of Theology in California. He presently is a ministerial assistant at the Vero Beach UU congregation. So coming up, we're going to have the pleasure of our prelude. Okay. And so, okay. Thank you, Jackie and Alan. That was wonderful. We're going to have the chalice lighting now. And the words I'm going to speak are from the hymnal, hymn number 34. Though I speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain, as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given by love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed. Thank you. For my opening words, I've picked a poem by Maya Angelou. I think most of you know that I love the blues. I love that music. And it reminds me that of the pain of other people. I wrote these words here. We should remember to emphasize when suffering leads to despair, and then we must celebrate when suffering leads to courage. In reading this poem, I feel like I'm appropriating a little bit, so I hope that Maya Angelou will forgive me for that. This is her poem, Still I Rise. You may write down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Do you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from the past that's rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of horror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Our first hymn today is hymn 113, Where is Our Holy Church? And now our affirmation, we're going to speak the first verse and sing the second verse. Love is the spirit of his church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. From all that dwell below the skies, let faith and hope and love arise. Let unity, truth, and good be sung. From every land, by every tongue. Bob picked a beautiful responsive reading for this morning. It's number 437 in our hymnal, and they'll also be putting the words up on the screen. This is Let Us Worship by Kenneth Patton. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. We feed our eyes upon the mystery and the revelation in the faces of our brothers and sisters. We seek to know the wistfulness of a very young and very old, the wistfulness of people in all times of life. We seek to understand the shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, the anguish behind cruelty. All life flows into a common life if we will only open our eyes to our companions. Let us worship not in bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears. Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our beings and the full outstretching of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship and learn to love. And now we're going to do our joys and sorrows. I did want to mention that Betty, she told me yesterday or Friday that she was scheduled to come home today. So she'll be back home today. Her daughter will be taking care of her, and we're all thinking of Betty. She is a rock for us. And Bill Falk, who I mentioned earlier, is at the thank you, Kitty. Is at the Palm City Rehab Center, and would love to have visitors. And so if you and lunch is a good time, I'm told. And so if you want to go and visit him, that would be wonderful. Now it's time for anyone who would like to come up and express their joys and sorrows. As Bob says, please keep it brief and personal. Thanks.
Just a little aside to Bill's, he would take food too, but I have a sorrow. Fred's daughter, oldest daughter, Kirsten, probably needs a liver transplant. They're going to try some other things first, but her mother died of liver disease, but we didn't realize that might be inherited because her mother had a drinking issue. And Kirsten doesn't drink at all. So please keep her in your thoughts for us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, David Blizzard. A few weeks ago I lost a lifelong friend, Claire Ann Bunker, who we met in Bar Harbor, Maine, when we first came to the States in '68. and she had a tough life, but she kept fighting and did remarkably well and raised 3 wonderful kids. And I was just on the point of inviting her down to Florida when her kids called me and said she'd died in the emergency room in Arizona, in her community. I will miss her. Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Good morning, I'm Tia Breeding. I'm dressed like this because my joy is the second of our Christmas concerts for the Treasure Coast Community Chorus is this afternoon at Ross Hall at St. Mary's Episcopal Church at 3 o'clock. And Jackie convinced me that I had time to come to this and then to go, although my spot time is 1:15 and hers is later. So the other part of this announcement, that's a joy. The other part of this announcement is, to my joy, I heard a bass in the congregation today that I'm going to be talking to about joining. And I encourage all of you who would like to hear some fun and good, I think, Christmas music to come this afternoon at 3 to Ross Hall. I could never get away with it if Bob were up there, so thank you. Yes.
For those whose joys and sorrows are too private to share, know that our hearts are with you. And we'll move another stone. Next, John Brown has a pastoral reading for us, a meditation. John Brown.
The title of this meditation is Being a Do-Gooder. An expert in law, as recorded in the New Testament, once asked Jesus a very important question about inheriting eternal life. Jesus answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." He then went and asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" And this is an important question with all of us, I believe, during this holiday season. And Jesus replied to the question as found in the New Testament through the gift of storytelling. And here's the story he said. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, who many have said historically have been an associate minister, saw the injured man and passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, the equivalent of an African American, a native Indian, Hispanic, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. And he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. And then he put the man on his own donkey and brought him to an inn. The next day, he took out 2 denarii, or the equivalent in this day and time of about 20 cents. And he gave it to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, "Well, the one who had mercy on him." And Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." The story really is not one that shows us only about mercy and compassion to a person in need. It really also illustrates another important aspect, and that is of being a neighbor to a neighbor. And that involves doing good to others as well as to self. When the Good Samaritan left and attended to his job, he in essence took time for himself. He realized his needs were important as well. He may have also taken time to be creative, not only in handling this situation, but in other aspects of his life. How is creativity going on in your life? Are you composing a short tune? Or drawing a picture, or even painting? Writing some poetry, creating some short prose? Good Samaritans certainly need to be creative. And when the Samaritan returned, he did good to the man by taking him to a lodge and by telling the innkeeper, "Will you keep a running tab on this person?" And by maintaining a loving image in his heart, he realized he would return and reimburse the innkeeper. In giving to others during this gift-giving season, we are not to lose sight of who we are and our own needs, for we are of importance as well. And this reminds me that during this holiday season, please do not see yourself as a second-class citizen. We are a neighbor, an individual who is of infinite worth and value, and therefore express this quality of neighborliness to yourself by being patient with yourself, forgiving yourself when you make mistakes, being kind, being a giving individual. Save time for yourself. I believe all of us need to savor the gift of life for ourselves and all the creatures surrounding us. And we do this again by taking time, I emphasize this, because so often people do not take time for themselves, by obtaining adequate sleep, by engaging in appropriate social interaction with others, and managing our stress level during this special season. May you be a good neighbor to yourself, which really is basic to loving the other neighbor. Amen.
Thank you, John. We're going to start with sing Spirit of Life. We're going to hum the first verse and sing the second. Stand if you wish.
It's hymn 123.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you. Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keeper of the dream. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Jackie and Alan. Wonderful. And now John Brown.
Well, there's no doubt that we all experience difficult times in our lives, both personally and certainly as we look at our nation and as we look at the global community. There are difficult times that are present and are yet to come. Our response to the situations when they arise certainly vary, and I venture to say that in the midst of the hustle and bustle, we get tired, perhaps more impatient, and sometimes we may even say to ourselves or to others, "Oh, I wish this season would hurry up and get over." Well, hopefully we don't say that too often and don't feel that too much, because I trust that we feel something else. For some of you, this might appear to be a peaceful time, is what I hope. Old memories or feelings from the past, I hope, magically appear or come into your conscious mind, so that we acknowledge that we are thankful for the time spent with family and with friends. Well, this morning, I'd like to address the issue of maintaining or finding peace. And one way of doing that is by loving ourselves during the season, especially this season. This form of peace I'm referring to is based on a Unitarian Universalist principle, which reads, "The goal of world community is peace, liberty, and justice for all." Loving ourselves, I really believe, is an achievable goal. At the first principle, as we read it, we are reminded of these words: "We are of inherent worth and dignity," as it states in the back of our bulletin. And I believe that inward peace can be brought about by loving ourselves, not in a vain fashion, but in a spiritual manner. During challenging times such as these, I have found in my own life, personally, as a minister and as a psychotherapist, that loving oneself is an important foundation for surviving difficult and even dangerous times. It is a path toward inner peace. Love needs to be an important focus in these challenging times. And it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said, "I have decided to love," which emphasizes choice. And King believed that love is ultimately the only answer. Loving the world outside of ourselves as well as on the inside was an important theme for Dr. King. In loving ourselves, we are applying the transformative power of love, which is a way really of coping with circumstances we cannot control. In fact, I believe that through this self-perception of love, we can change some aspects of how we view the world and how we view ourselves. Above all, how we treat ourselves. And when we do that, we are not helpless creations tossed in a variety of ways during a demanding season, such as one that is almost upon us. So my first point this morning is that loving yourself takes place in a variety of ways. There are a variety of meanings in loving self. For some people, loving oneself is to look in the mirror, and before they know it, what do? But some people criticize how they look. Have I lost weight? Do I have that special gleam in my eye that I used to have? Am I liked? Am I really liked by those around me? The loving of oneself is not based on physical beauty or popularity. Loving yourself is seeing your inner beauty and celebrating that within yourself and perhaps with others. And we need to keep in mind that self-love isn't about self-gratification, a new pair of shoes, or eating that large portion of pizza that many of us like. It may feel good for the moment, but the feeling isn't long-lasting and could be damaging in the long run. Self-love means giving yourself what your mind and body and soul needs for the marathon. It isn't hedonism, and it isn't chasing physical or emotional highs. The practice of self-love is a practice of nourishing ourselves. The practice of nourishing ourselves. I grew up in a household where we were to try and achieve our very best. My sister and I were respected and loved for who we were. We were told primarily how to treat and act toward others. In fact, we were taught that you should take care of others before yourself. But loving ourselves was not explored in really great depth. In essence, you should always sacrifice your sake for the sake of others was really a family theme. This certainly was demonstrated by my mother, who sacrificed in taking care of our family, and my father, who had lateral multiple sclerosis. She worked as a secretary, volunteered in our church, and continually reached out to other neighbors who had special needs. For me, certainly loving others excessively came at a high cost. One of the reasons I believe my first marriage came to a screeching halt and ended was because I placed the needs and the wants of others so high that I sacrificed my well-being, my family, and even love of self. That was a major reason for the ending of this marriage. And for a number of years, being a minister at the time meant, unfortunately, a de-emphasis of self-love. But in my spiritual journey, I eventually learned. I learned that I am a person of worth and of infinite value, and this is central to loving self. Taking care of our own needs in a responsible manner and caring for ourselves is truly vital. During this holiday, finding a balance of loving self and others is not an easy task. And loving others is certainly a key to the aspect of being a member and an active person who is really celebrating involvement in the human race. Seeing ourselves as awesome is also very helpful. One of my favorite cartoon characters is Snoopy. And in this illustration, you see a little bird following Snoopy with a mask on his face. And suddenly he stops and says, "Being a little weird is just a natural side effect of being awesome." Being awesome is a quality of loving ourselves. And so it is crucial that we find a balance between loving ourselves and acknowledging our awesome self, for all of you are awesome. In finding that balance, we don't disregard our own values and beliefs when we love others, which are demonstrative of really self-love. There is no doubt that we all have, each and every one of us, have the power to sabotage the love of ourselves in various ways, which really is my second point. One way to sabotage ourselves is by allowing this critical voice that takes place in this monkey chatter in our head to dominate our inner life. The voice sabotages inner peace and produces an endless field of cruel comments on everything we do. And if we're not careful or aware of what is happening, it can really take over our lives. And that voice tells us that we're stupid, we're ugly, we're boring, we're awkward, we're incapable, we're unworthy, or whatever buzzword shakes us to our core. The voice is present because of past negative events and attitudes we've learned and we've internalized within ourselves, or we've been told by others who are significant in our lives, and we believe those statements. When we are self-critical, our stress level goes up and floods our systems with adrenaline and cortisol. It's a double whammy because when we criticize ourselves, we are both the attacker and the attacked. This type of chronic stress can eventually lead to anxiety and, yes, depression, undermining our physical and our emotional well-being. But I want to be clear at this point. Unloving behavior towards ourselves is not all mind over matter. In fact, there are some medications we take that can add to or help create an inward attitude of negativity. If you're not sure about that, please ask your doctor or the pharmacist at least. Our energy level plays a role as well. If I'm extremely tired, I must confess to you I am not the easiest person in the world to get along with. Just ask my wife, who I brought today, to confirm that. When tired, my energy level is low, and the critical voice gets activated if I'm not careful. I've also been told by prominent psychologists that our DNA plays an important role with our self-criticism. A study at the University of British Columbia found that some people are genetically predisposed to see the world darkly. It found that a previously known gene variant can cause individuals to perceive emotional events, especially negative ones, as trauma more vividly than others. So it is important to practice loving ourselves. It helps to accept and be patient with ourselves as we move towards self-love and yes, inner peace during a season that can be very demanding. Which brings me to my third point. What are ways we can love ourselves and feel inward grace? During this season, when one becomes exhausted, it is important to stop and focus in on, what am I doing that is loving to myself? How can I be even more loving of myself? So we need to reflect and we need to rest. I also believe it is important to pace ourselves. Be careful that you do not extend an excessive amount of emotion when you're with lots of people or when you're shopping or when you're going to those social get-togethers. That is one of the reasons it's important to be around energizing people as well. Be around people who are positive and who look at the good in life and to celebrate that as well. Now, there are different vehicles for loving yourself while feeling peaceful. In your journey in life, be mindful that all of us, each and everybody here, has the capacity to love oneself. One exercise I have found to be helpful is to look into a mirror in your car or your car's rear view mirror at a stop sign and say to yourself, I love you. You say it 4 times. You're supposed to be at stop signs for 3 seconds. Trust me, you will get it in there, that I love you. But as you say it, feel I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. Perhaps the outcome from that exercise will be happiness, will be gratitude, a sense of calmness of mind, body, and spirit. This may not be an easy exercise. In fact, I've done this as a psychotherapist and as a clergyman, and some people simply cannot do it. They cannot do it in a mirror in their car, and above all, they cannot do it in a mirror in front of somebody else. It takes practice. It takes working at it. Also, find time to forgive yourself. We all make mistakes. We sometimes say things impulsively we don't mean to say. We need to stop and forgive ourselves. And that means to cancel out the wrong that you have done. We are all human, and we often drag old trunks around with us, and that's a costly exercise. Loving yourself means to grow from the past, acknowledge the errors of your ways, forgive yourself, and move on into a celebration of your present life and into your future history. To carry the burdens of yesterday's is a very costly endeavor. When we show loving behavior towards ourselves, we are celebrating the gift of life and affirming the value of peace. And this spiritual perspective refreshes us, refreshes our mind, body, and spirit. And I hope that by stopping and becoming aware of your internal world, this exercise of saying that you love yourself will be a priority. To reflect on yourself and to celebrate that which is of value to you and of infinite worth will be something that will be key. There's no doubt to do all of this, I found it be helpful. And it requires us to reflect and to pause, to feel within ourselves, to acknowledge our emotions. And by drawing an honest and rational picture of ourselves, I can help review that I am worthy of love and can be an ambassador of loving others effectively and creatively when I stop and acknowledge that I am worthy of love. And by doing this, there's no doubt it will help all of us to discover ways of creating peace within. In closing, the love of self is expressed in self-compassion. Dr. Kristen Neff, the author of the book Self-Compassion, The Power of Being Kind to Yourself, advocates for really a greater understanding and use of self-compassion to calm self-criticism and promote mental, physical, and emotional health. Compassion in this case is an attitude of really being kind to ourselves rather than judgmental, of embracing a mindful approach to our thoughts and feelings as they pass through us and accepting our common humanity with others. And by loving oneself in a compassionate way, we can join the chorus against the inner critic that takes place again and again in our inner mind, and pursue actions that present a more honest reflection of who we are. I believe that we can find that inner peace which is so valuable for lasting and meaningful life during this season. May you find it. Amen.
Thank you, John. Now, please stand if you can, and if you wish, in singing hymn number 29, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. We'd like to invite everyone to join us in the social hall across the way after.
Please be seated. When I say go in peace in a few moments, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. And when I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. And when I say in a few moments go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. And when I say go in peace, I mean go in peace, seeking hope, seeking justice. I mean go in peace committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. And when I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when together all of us build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love, which, by the way, also means loving yourself. So now, go in peace now, and may you find, discover, and express peace to all those around you. And above all, save a lot of peace for yourself. Amen.
Amen. Joyful, joyful. We all know what that means. So what we're going to play right now, since I left all the other music home, is Siman Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Siman Tov, which basically means joyful, joyful. It's a celebration of life, and today's holiday concert at 3 p.m. at St. Mary's Bob it has mostly Christmas music. So I'm going to stick this in here because Christmas and Hanukkah fall on the same day this year. 13 months equals 12 months, and only in music. And in the Judeo-Christian world does something like that happen. So this is called Siman Tov, a joyful folk song. Me. All right, Ellen. Be mine. That's what's faking it with class. Thank you, Ellen. Next time I'll bring all the music I play.
Test.
I was so exhausted. I was so tired last night, I never made it back to the other house where I had the music at the door.
The other house. Y'all were fabulous. It was great. Thank you, thank you.